Canucks use a big first period to down the Oilers 3-2. Fireworks at the end of the game, giving us plenty to talk about, and we're going to do that now on Rink Wide Vancouver. And we welcome you inside the Rink Wide Vancouver studios on this Saturday night, a night that sees the Vancouver Canucks jump out to a 3-0 lead and hold off the Edmonton Oilers. 3-2 is the final. Lots in the first period and lots of the final buzzer to talk about, and we're going to do that here on Rink Wide. It's Jeff, and it's Patrick Johnson of Post Media with us here on this Saturday night. Rink Wide, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Be sure to use code NATION when you open an account. And, of course, if you want to get one of your comments or your questions through to us here at Rink Wide, hit us up with a super chat on the YouTube live stream. Our super chat charity partner this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. PJ, the Canucks have defeated the Edmonton Oilers, second straight Saturday that they knock off a Canadian opponent. Last week it was Toronto, a shutout win there. Couldn't hold the Oilers off the score sheet, but they did jump out to that 3-0 lead, and quite a first period for the Vancouver Canucks.
I mean, I had it written down right away. Who are these guys?
Yeah.
2 power play goals, 16 shots. I kept, you're such a fan of first period shots, and they did everything you ever wanted.
I do like first period shots, and so should the Canucks, and maybe tonight will be a reminder of that. 16 of them, 3 go in. The captain has 2. No surprise, but he's on fire. He has 4 goals in his last 4 games, and a team that's struggling to generate offense. He's just been so remarkably consistent, and up to 12 now on the season. His first multi-goal game of the season. There was talk of a hat-trick. After 20 minutes, he had 2. That was it. And his second of the 2 on the power play, 2 minutes to go in the first period, stands up as the game winner because Leon Draisaitl decided to add to his league-leading total. Draisaitl with his 32nd and 33rd, both from the same spot on the ice, about 6 inches off the goal line. Amazing. He has scored so many goals. I joked along press row that the first one, most people would call it a sharp angle, but for him, it's like he scored 100 goals from that spot on the ice. Like, that's just, he's got the geometry down. And I think goalies think that they've got to seal up that short side, and quite often he goes far post and in, and that was the case there. And look, it's a 3-2 hockey game with half a game to go, and given the way things have gone for the Vancouver Canucks lately, you kind of had that feeling. But, the win, obviously, it's all about results with all the noise around JT Miller, and we'll certainly get to that topic. This team needed a win after what happened in Winnipeg and what happened against Los Angeles Kings. But PJ, okay, so result first and foremost. But the way the result was achieved, Oilers get 2, make it a game.
Yeah.
They had 3 third-period shots.
Yeah. I mean, this has been bizarrely. I mean, there obviously were a couple bad examples this week, but for so much of the season, that has been the story of the Vancouver Canucks. This is a team that has generally done a good job in their own end, been able to lock it down. The problem has been they haven't been able to score at the other end and make it all worthwhile. And that game was exactly what Rick Tocchet loves to see. Early lead, early big lead, and just guiding their way home. It was absolutely, absolutely fantastic the way they guided their way. And, we looked at each other. I think we all looked at each other. That second Draisaitl goal, you start going, uh-oh. because this has been a team that has struggled with these kinds of moments, and these are the Oilers. Like, this is what they do. That first power play goal when it had the McDavid shuffle to make the zone entry, the pass from Bouchard, the just kind of casual backhanded flip across over to McDavid, who then hammered it over to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who came around patiently and just gave it to, as you've already mentioned, who else? Leon Draisaitl. Like, the way that goal came together, you're like, this team's just coming. It's just going to come and come. And the Canucks shut it down. They didn't really let it go. And, JT Miller, maybe his last game, we'll see, but certainly battled Connor McDavid. You're never going to stop him, but you can try to slow him down. They did a great job of that. And, of course, the spectacular finish, which didn't involve Miller, but involved a very frustrated Connor McDavid.
McDavid finishes with an assist, so he does get a point. 24 and a half minutes of ice time.
Yeah.
2 shots on goal, 5 attempts. Pretty run-of-the-mill night for Connor McDavid. And, of course, Draisaitl, as we said, up to 33 goals now, just past the midway mark. So going to be fascinating to see where he tops out. He had that chance when they had the goaltender pulled, and Elias Pettersson broke his stick, elected to, and we always talk about, are you better to go to the bench and try and get one, or do you stay out there? Petey decides to go to the bench, and in that split second, the Oilers able to identify a little space. They work it around. They got it to Draisaitl, and Derek Forbort got in the way of the Draisaitl chance that could have tied this hockey game. It didn't, and the Canucks skate away with a 3-2 victory. They outshoot the Oilers 27-15 on the night. They go 2 for 4 with the man advantage. Oilers go 1 for 2 on the power play. Beyond the 2 goals, 6 power play shots, and that's something I wanted to see. We talked a lot with Irf the other night. I asked the players after practice yesterday, 1 power play shot and 5 attempts the other night against the Kings.
Yeah.
Here, 6 power play shots and 2 find the back of the net. So, 20th win of the season. It's taken a little while, but they're at 20, 15, and 10 now. That's 50 points in the 45 games that they have played, and a home win. How about that, too?
Yeah. Home win,
Talk
Jeff.
about things that have been in short supply. Their 8th home ice victory, 8, 9, and 6 now on the season of the Vancouver Canucks. Just their 2nd win in the last 8, and the other one was last Saturday in Toronto. So knock off the Leafs a week ago, get schooled by the Jets and the Kings, but they do respond. I think one of the storylines here is all the noise. Elliot Friedman talking before the game. JT Miller, there was talk that they might hold him out of this game to protect the asset he plays. Not only does he play in the starting lineup when Chris Knoblauch sets his opening faceoff lineup, and he's got McDavid out there, and JT Miller draws that hard match for most of the night right off the opening faceoff.
Is there anything you didn't get in this game? Like, we had the early lead. We had 4 power play goals. We had some spectacular play from both teams. We had grit, determination, and a home ice win, Jeff.
A PD point.
Yeah, there you go. Fair enough.
Didn't get that. But there was some hustle.
But there's a guy who did something.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
He even cleared the puck, actually.
It's hard to find a passenger for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. You don't beat the Edmonton Oilers generally with only a handful of guys going. And so some, great individual performances, stars on display. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but I am still, like, when those let's go Oiler chants start early, the blue and orange, and I guess it speaks to the availability of tickets in this market, that Oiler fans, and there are lots of them, and we saw it in the playoffs, and that's why I say I shouldn't be surprised, but they were there and in full voice in the early going, but in the end, it is Canuck fans to get a last laugh, and these teams are going to meet again on Thursday, which is sort of a fascinating subplot because of what happened at the end of the game. And I do want to devote a fair bit of time to that. So let's get to the 3 stars right out of the gate here. And not sure who was selected. Game sheet doesn't have the 3 stars in the building.
Game sheet is a mess, Jeff, because it currently has minor penalties to build.
Oh, okay. Well, we got our 3 stars. Who needs a game sheet? Quinn Hughes, the first star, 2 goals, 5 shots on goal, doing Quinn Hughes things out there, dancing around. As I said, his first multi-goal game of the season. Has never had a hat trick, by the way. I did look that up, but this is the 5th time in his career that he scored multiple goals in a game. So Quinn's the first star. Leon Draisaitl with 2 shots on 2 goals, or 2 goals on 2 shots. Pretty good percentage there. And there's JT Miller. How many more opportunities will he have to be a star here on Rink Wide? We don't know the answer to that, but he looked like a guy that can be part of the solution here if he plays that way. 2 assists, absolutely dominant in the faceoff circle, went 18-5 on the draw. Like, he was 10-0 in the first period alone in the face-off circle, 20 minutes and 27 seconds for JT Miller.
Think of that thing that we hear so often from Rick Tocchet, move your feet.
Yeah.
Right? And like, think about how much the Canucks, I mean, that was such the story in the first period to me, was how much they just moved their feet. They did exactly what brought them success last year. They were busy, you know. Elias Pettersson attacked off the sidewall. Like, you know, like there was stuff happening that they have not seen enough of so far this season. And you know, JT Miller was one of the lead candidates in that tonight. He was a guy that got things happening, and it was an impressive performance by this team.
Curious to hear what Miller's going to have to say. Curious to hear what Rick Tocchet's going to have to say about all this noise that is picking back up around JT Miller and trade chatter. Lots of super chats, and terrific. We appreciate the support. Want to get to these. One of them says, this one's from Spatzilli, Miller will be a hard, impossible player to replace. And yeah, I mean, without knowing the return, it's kind of hard to get ahead of ourselves on that one. But yes, and on nights like tonight where he had that fire, played with the passion, but harnessed it the right way, was playing at both ends of the ice. Didn't see him quitting on plays and the lazy back check and that kind of stuff. So,
as far as we know, getting mad at his teammates.
You know, getting mad at his teammates.
Which is the way they played tonight was exactly the dynamic of how this team is supposed to play. It was, you've got lots of skill in this lineup, you got some aggression, you've got that power forward element that Miller brings. It is why this whole situation that's developed over the last couple of months has been so baffling, because yes, there was always going to be, you know, questions about that related. That's always going to be there. But when they're winning, we didn't care. And when they weren't winning, that's why we were talking about it. And, you know, games like this one, we haven't seen enough. That, in the end, to me, is the story of this season. I mean, that's the truth. These games where they're engaged, things are going well, things are going forward. You know, he's a guy that when things are going good, you want him on your team. And the Canucks have struggled to get things going forward. And it will change the dynamic if he does indeed get traded. It's going to be a different team, a differently constructed team, a team that's going to play differently no matter who it is that comes in.
Yeah, and look, let's be honest. Like, it's unlikely that a trade's going to go down at this late hour on a Saturday night, but it doesn't mean that this wasn't JT Miller's final game a couple of days now before the Canucks suit up again on Tuesday against the Buffalo Sabres. So an ongoing story here. We'll be monitoring. And yes, once again, the talk of the National Hockey League. Another super chat. This one from Brett Williamson. Been a fan of the Canucks since I was 10, going back to 1988. Always thought Bure would be the biggest superstar. No love for Henrik or Daniel. But Quinn Hughes is even better. Amazing. And I know I had this question in Canucks Army mailbag last week. Like, is Quinn Hughes the best player to ever play for the Vancouver Canucks? And I said if his career ended today, I just don't think you can go there yet. That Daniel and Henrik had individual awards. They got to a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. They had longevity on their side. But Quinn is absolutely tracking to be the best player in franchise history.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's in the Bure category, right? Like, exciting, explosive, immensely talented, did all kinds of things that, you know, we probably won't see again. But, yeah, he hasn't had the long career the Sedins have had. He hasn't gone to, as you said, Game 7. Yeah, he's in a special category. He's the best defenseman we've ever seen. That's like, it's not like Alex Edler is somewhere way in the back, right?
Loved everything that Alex Edler did for the Vancouver Canucks, but even Eddie himself in November when he was through here, he stepped at the podium and plotted Quinn Hughes, and how can you not? Let's keep the super chats going. This is terrific, and we appreciate all of the support here, as does the BC Mental Health Foundation. This one comes from Canucks Fan 94. If McDavid doesn't get suspended for this, then the league is officially rigged. No way they can ignore that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to this, because we've talked about the game and the way it unfolded here. And in the dying seconds, with the goaltender pulled, Connor Garland essentially tackles Connor. Talk about neutralizing Connor McDavid. Dare the officials to call a penalty. You pin the best player in the world on the ice. Garland probably should have got a penalty. Whatever. I mean, that's sort of water under the bridge.
We're not sure, since the game sheet's still broken.
Well, didn't Wes McCauley say match penalty, and everybody else gets a minor?
Yeah, that was well handled.
But a couple of things here. Connor McDavid gets mauled every game. Is it frustrating? I'm sure it is. That's not a get-out-of-jail-free card, though. And he got a get-out-of-jail card the other night in Minnesota when he clipped Marcus Johansson with an elbow that absolutely was suspension worthy,
Yeah.
and the National Hockey League elected to give him the star treatment and give him a pass twice in the same week? No, it cannot happen.
Yeah.
Or can it?
Well,
So try this on for size. I just looked. The Oilers' next game, an ESPN game.
oh my God.
At home to Washington. They've been billing this
Oh,
as
no.
Ovi versus McDavid. Does the league have the stones to
Well, I mean, in
disrupt?
the old days, they'd like retroact. They would just, we'll have the hearing, next week, and well, you can keep playing. And
can appeal.
Then we'll suspend you, and they used to appeal. That's
Yeah.
right. Time
But
of your
then,
appeal.
of course, the next game after Washington is the rematch against the Vancouver
Right.
Canucks on Thursday. And I've always thought that like a suspension against Washington doesn't help the Canucks in any way.
Yeah.
But we're not going to change the parameters at this point for the Department of Player Safety. But I do think this is a great challenge for George Peros and his group there. You've got McDavid and Ovi. ESPN's been billing this. It happens twice a year.
They're going to have to switch to Draisaitl and Ovi because,
maybe, and that would still be pretty good.
It's pretty accurate.
The
but
greatest goal
nobody-
scorer of
yeah.
all time, maybe, against the best goal scorer in the National Hockey League. That probably should be the storyline. But, okay, so, let's go through this. McDavid, frustrated by Garland, time's winding down, gets up and absolutely delivers a cross-check to Garland's head. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. It's just reckless use of his stick. Again, I get frustration, but you can't be doing that. You're always responsible for your stick. And I see people online, Oiler fans, talking about, Garland was ducking, whatever.
It doesn't matter.
Let's go back to the playoffs last year where
Yeah.
Carson Soucy got one game for a fairly similar looking incident where McDavid was kind of buckled over and Soucy absolutely delivered a cross check and he deserved it. And that was the playoffs we're talking about. At first glance, and I don't know about you, I was paying so much attention to what was going on in the scrum. No idea that Tyler Myers was doing as much, if not more, to Evan Bouchard out on the wing there, out by the boards. And so upon further review, watching the Myers one, he's going to get called on the carpet too. Like, that was pretty egregious. He gets his stick. Like, there's just no mistake. I can understand some of the frustration in McDavid. Tyler Myers doesn't have that excuse. His team won. He was away from the scrum, and he absolutely delivers a two-hander across the face of Evan Bouchard.
I have very little doubt that Tyler Myers is going to be going away for longer than Connor McDavid.
I tend to agree.
Just not just on player stature, I think the who this player is. Obviously Tyler Myers massively taller.
I'm looking at this game sheet that you've talked about.
They're slowly updating it because the last time I saw,
and Myers is
but they've just been filling it. It's been a mess.
I see that. According to the game sheet I'm looking at right now, Myers has a slashing minor. And
but he's also got two other minors. Like, it's just a big mess. Oh, they've taken the slash. Yeah, no, it's just a big mess.
I see it. They still haven't.
Right.
But right now, and this can change, and this is live, so who knows? But there's no sign of a match penalty for either McDavid or Myers on the game sheet as we go through it. So, look, like, there have been times this season where we wondered a little bit about Canucks sticking up for themselves and pushing back, and we saw them the Wolfpack come to the defense of Quinn Hughes in Washington when Pierre-Luc Dubois. The Calgary game had a bunch of fights in it. I was glad to see that there was some pushback at times in this game. And you go back to the start of the second period where JT Miller got a pretty good chunk of Leon Draisaitl along the sideboards, and then those two went at it. I thought they were going to get penalties. Refs let them play, and look, you got two star players in a battle. I'm of that camp, like, let them play. And I was glad that there weren't penalties there, but there was some heat in that exchange as well.
The whacks, like, just watching them whack, and you're like, whoa. And just both of them being, this is what we're doing. And part of me wondered if they were going to maybe drop the gloves, because that could have been that kind of a scenario. But, it was a moment where Draisaitl needed to stay on the ice, right? Like, they were trying to get back into that game. So it didn't surprise me they didn't drop the gloves. But, that was some big that was big boy hockey, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Look, JT Miller has spoken post-game, says, quote, "I'm planning on being a Canuck today, tomorrow. Whatever happens, happens. I'm focused on the next game," which, of course, is Tuesday against the Buffalo Sabres. Team has its biggest charity night of the season tomorrow night, Dice and Ice, a Sunday night for Dice and Ice, but I guess that is where it fell on the calendar this year. And so I think the Canucks are supposed to practice on Sunday. We'll see. Again, this is a fluid situation as far as JT Miller is concerned. All the reports, whether it was Rick Dollywall, Elliot Friedman on Hockey Night, a fair bit of legwork had been done on the Miller file today. So just because he played doesn't mean that he's now a Canuck for all time here. So.
And just sort of poking around, and you do the endless comparing of notes and whatever. And it's clearly there are things assembling here. And, maybe there's talks after the game, and we'll see, I guess. It all kind of depends on how it shakes. Obviously, part of me wonders, is there another team involved? All that kind of stuff. We'll see how it shakes out. I mean, I did mention to you that Natalie Miller has a interior design package available in the Dyson Ice auction. Now, I haven't checked to see where the bidding is at in that one, but I thought that was kind of an interesting, sideways betting market to monitor to see what people thought was going to happen here.
I'm becoming conditioned to teams grabbing 3-0 leads when the Canucks are involved here. Toronto last week, Winnipeg, although Winnipeg pushed its lead to more than just 3-0. But Los Angeles the other night, here it was 3-0 in the first period as well. Hughes, originally credited to Connor Garland, and Garland getting down in his stance there, front of the net. And I don't know, did Quinn misfire? Because usually he's so spot on that he hits the stick he's looking for, but after they looked at it, they ruled that it was actually Quinn's goal. So
I believe I called that. I don't know if you heard me say that, but I told a few people. I think that hit Ekholm's knee.
Yeah. So Hughes for Miller, 14:38. Canucks get the first goal of the game, something they just haven't done much of here since Christmas, but they get on the board first. They couldn't squander a Danton Heinen goal. Like, you can't let those go to waste. They've happened so seldom, just his 6th of the year. But Danton Heinen gets his own rebound. Some nice work, actually, by Phil DiGiuseppe on the right boards, down the right side, pulls up, back to the point for Tyler Myers, and Myers with the shot, and there was Heinen in front of the net, gets his own rebound. So, a minute and, 11 seconds after Hughes opens the scoring, Canucks follow it up, stack a shift, and get an even strength goal, and then it was Nils Höglander drew the penalty on Matthias Ekholm, and Quinn Hughes with the shot, wrist shot off the left side. Some traffic in front of the net. Hughes with 2, Miller with 2 primary assists. Brock Besser credited with an assist as well. And so we talked about this first period in which the Canucks outshoot the Edmonton Oilers 16-7. And there were some other chances in there as well. Nils Höglander had the breakaway opportunity.
I was going to say that. We almost forgot about it. I mean, he was barely stopped by Stuart Skinner's toe.
Garland had the early chance from Miller at the side of the net, and Skinner had to kind of make an awkward save there. But Höglander on that sequence made a really cool play in the neutral zone. It looked like the Oilers were going to get to the attack, and for all the knocks on Nils Höglander about his defensive play, I do want to single that out, because it then led to him getting up the gut and Skinner's toe. Like, I'm always amazed that goaltenders have the strength to hold players off that are just digging and digging. Yeah. And Stuart Skinner gets that left toe out there, and somehow puck stayed out. So Höglander had a chance there. Petey had a rebound off a Jake DeBrusk shot. There were some opportunities. So, again, shots equal goals on this night in the first period. Probably something for the Canucks to consider as they move forward here. Another tactical change that we saw from the Vancouver Canucks was Pia Suter.
Yeah, you called for it.
I did. I will say.
You also called for Lekar-Mackey to stay in the lineup, but I thought PDG played a pretty good game. So
yeah,
you're 1 for 2.
Well, yes. I mean, Sasson hadn't played since the Carolina game, and I don't think they want guys sitting for too long. If he's going to sit, get him back to Abbotsford and let him play. So Lekar-Mackey comes out of the lineup, and Sasson got back in. PDG stays in, and he had a decent game. But Pia Suter, look, it's 20 games without a goal. It's not happening for him offensively. I actually thought he had some real jump in this game.
He did.
The penalty kill, I know they gave up the power play goal. The second Oiler goal was on the power play. A terrific first penalty kill, though, by the Vancouver Canucks. Soucy gets called for interference. Pretty weak call. I mean, it's McDavid. He had some speed in the neutral zone.
There was a call coming at that point.
And you're right. The Canucks had the first 3 power plays. No, you're right. But I just like a textbook penalty kill, and Suter and Bluger were the first guys out for that. Forbort's doing a nice job on the penalty kill as well. It's not happening offensively for Pia Suter these days. So I thought, well, it's not happening defensively for JT Miller. Why not sort of, combine the two here? And we have seen Suter with Miller and usually Besser, but they moved Besser back up with Elias Pettersson. So Rick Tocchet moving pieces around here. But I do think that was the right call to give JT Miller a little bit of defensive solidity in the form of P.S. Suter. Take Suter out in the middle. It's not happening right now. Doesn't mean he can't go back there at some point. But I thought that was the right call and a good call by Rick Tocchet.
And we saw him play well with Miller last year.
Exactly.
They have a good understanding of each other. Suter is that kind of, literally is Swiss, but that Swiss Army knife kind of mentality. You can put him wherever you need, and he'll do whatever you need. That line had a lot of jump, and it wasn't just Garland, and it wasn't just Miller. It was the fact, I think the three of them just with that. It was everything you want to see from this team. It was the forecheck, the way they were winning pucks down low. It was a quality game from a line that I guess we'll see it next game.
Well, yeah, we'll Buffalo on Tuesday, and then, as we said, the rematch into Edmonton on Thursday, next Saturday. And all of a sudden, they're a team of Saturday nights here. They won in Toronto last Saturday, and here tonight. Got to win on some other nights of the week, but take the wins where you can get them, I suppose. And how about this? We'll get to our stat that stands out, but this one absolutely could have been it. 2 power play goals in a game for just the 4th time this season and the first time since the overtime win in Detroit on December the 1st. So it's January, 17th or 18th.
Was that one of those morning games? I can't even remember.
It was one of the early starts, yes.
Yes, it was.
Jake DeBrusk in overtime.
At breakfast.
Jake DeBrusk, I think, scored on the power play once, if not twice in that game. But, you get 2 power play goals in a game. You want to think that, win the special teams battle, you're going to win the hockey game, and ultimately that was the case for the Vancouver Canucks tonight.
The game sheet has been updated, so the matches are now there. So
okay.
I've been keeping track, so it's all in there now correctly. I don't know, just a couple of things that I noticed here, Jeff. Like, we've already talked about the shots down the stretch, but Canucks had 7 high danger chances at 5-on-5 in first period. They were just all over them. And then the second, I know you're going to do the stats, but they only gave up 6 shot attempts against them in the third period. This was as complete a performance as we've seen all season.
Right. I think there were some similarities to the game in Washington. It's just that they could only score 1 goal there, and they fell behind and had to try to play catch up. And speaking of playing catch up, this was the 3rd game in 4 nights for the Oilers. I'm not making excuses for the Edmonton Oilers, but they fell behind in this game, and now they're playing catch up. Well, guess what? The other night in Denver, they were down 3-0. McDavid and Draisaitl played 24.5 minutes in that game as well on the second of back-to-backs. That's asking an awful lot. And so at some point, maybe the schedule catches up to them. Again, they were 1 shot away at the end, but this was also the first game for the Vancouver Canucks since Christmas. Consecutive games in the same city. This essentially had been on a 10-game road trip prior to tonight.
Yeah.
And so the Canucks have been home. Obviously, they lost to Los Angeles the other night, but they didn't have to go anywhere. The Oilers had to fly from Denver, get in here 3 and 4 nights, and they lean so heavily on those top-end guys on a night like tonight. If Draisaitl doesn't score, nobody does. Sometimes catches up to you. And so, again, I don't think Canuck fans are going to be sending sympathy cards or feeling too bad for the Edmonton Oilers, but I just wanted to point out that it's been a tough schedule for the Canucks in terms of opponents, but also just the fact that they've been on the move so much that, maybe that played into it a little bit, that they were the fresher team, rested and ready to go, and obviously had to respond. They didn't respond to the Winnipeg loss. They just couldn't afford to have another first period like they've had the last couple of games, so whatever went into it worked out pretty well. But you're right, at the end of the night, the high dangers, 8-2 in favor of the Canucks, 5-on-5.
Yeah.
Against the Oilers. You'd sign up for that all night, every night. 19-14 were the scoring chances, according to Natural Stat Trick, and the Canucks controlled 55 of the shot attempts at 5-on-5 as well. So territorially, Canucks were the better team in this hockey game. And, we haven't even got to Thatcher Demko yet, and we should probably devote a little bit of time to him too. But before we do that, let's get to our stat that stands out, because he is such a focus of the game, and we talked about him for his cross-check and his match penalty. That's generally not what you think of when you think of Connor McDavid, who picked up another point against the Canucks. So 24 goals, 44 assists, 68 points in 42 career games against the Canucks. So basically just over half a season's worth of games. He's got 68 points. It is the most he has scored against any other NHL opponent. But his assist tonight comes in vain. That is our stat that stands out. Yeah, lots of points for Connor McDavid, and we'll see if he gets a chance to add to that. I would expect that he'll be available to them on Thursday. It's the Tuesday game against Washington, I think, is in question right about now.
Yeah.
Look,
one game for a match penalty, that's all you're saying?
For him, I think he's a first-time offender.
True.
And as I said, you're frustrated. I get it. And you get treatment most nights, but you just can't go running around. And he has to know he got away with one in Mini the other night, too. The Wild fans were up in arms. Minnesota media was up in arms. The league gave him a pass there. They just can't. Completely unforgivable if the league turns a blind eye this time around. You know what else would be unforgivable is if you miss out on the next Canucks Army watch party that's coming up for the rematch. Vancouver in Edmonton on Thursday. Mark it on your calendar and then buy a ticket. Come down to Greta, January 23rd. Rematch already bubbling and simmering, even though both teams play once between then. We've got all sorts of giveaways, hockey tickets, signed memorabilia, jerseys to be won. The doors are going to open at 5, puck drop at 6 o'clock. $10 ticket gets you access to the action, and it's all in support of One Broken Biker. There's a VIP option as well, 4-person reservation for $100. Entry into the event, Greta Burger and Beverage, plus a game card for all the arcade games at Greta. Don't miss out. Secure your spot at nationgear.ca for an action-packed night with the Canucks Army crew. All right. Thatcher Demko. Hasn't gone as smoothly for him as I think he probably had hoped, and probably the club as well. I like the idea of coming back with him and getting him in a run here. One of their paths to getting back above the playoff bar and staying there is to get him back to his Vezina finalist form.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and you don't go anywhere without him being that goalie. I mean, as much as the Kevin Lankinen story has been a good one, you need your number one goalie to be your number one goalie.
And so, wasn't busy, but he had to make some stops. The Ekholm save, the pass from McDavid at 3-2 in the third period. Nice stop there. I saw some people dumping on him for the Draisaitl goals. They are sharp angle goals, but again, nobody in hockey scores that goal better than Leon Draisaitl. And I do think as a goaltender, you're just trying so hard to get across and seal off the post, and you're probably scanning to see where McDavid is, and before you find McDavid, Draisaitl's put the puck behind you. So, it wasn't a perfect night for Thatcher Demko, but compared to some of his recent performances, the other night against the Kings, I look at the individual goals. It was hard to find a bad one, but you give up 5. That's way too many. But sort of lost in the poor offensive performance in Carolina in his previous start. He held them in there. Carolina scored 2 on him, and the Canucks, if they could have generated some offense, had the opportunity to make it a game. They just had nothing going at the other end of the ice, and he can't be counted on to score goals. Third win of the season. So third win in 10 starts. He's managed to finish 9 of those, left the game in Seattle with the back spasms. I saw people, when Tocchet named his starter this morning, thinking, what in the world? He gave up 5 the other night against the Kings. Lankinen gives you a better chance to win. There's still a possibility that Lankinen will see the Oilers on Thursday. But to me, it was the right call. That, again, just to try to get Thatcher Demko in a rhythm. They're at home here. There's no travel. There's some practice time. Try to get him into some sort of groove. And I would think, based on this performance, I'd come right back with him against Buffalo on Tuesday.
Yeah. You start thinking about Lankinen. What do you want? How did he play? How does the week unfold? I think there's a good bet. You're trying to get him on a roll. You're trying to get him to be the guy, because you are now in a playoff fight, right? Mm-hmm. You are chasing Calgary, and you need wins. And Lankinen has been a very, very good goalie for this team, but he was brought in to be the backup.
Right, and as good as he's been, and as much as he's meant to the hockey club, he may not be here next year. He may not be here after the trade deadline. Who knows?
Yeah.
Thatcher Demko is the guy that has proven that he can get the job done and needs to prove it again here. And in order for him to get back to that level, he does have to play. So good on him. Gets the win here tonight. Again, part of the storyline. they needed their top end, and top end lineup stepped up, and Demko was part of that. So it's 13 saves. Again, not a busy night for him, but hey, wins have been in short supply, so he'll take it, something to build on, and we'll see where it goes as far as the goaltending is concerned. And look, the Canucks aren't out of the woods, this gauntlet of the schedule.
Yeah.
Buffalo looks like a bit of a reprieve, although the Sabres score goals. They can. They've had trouble defending. But then it's the Oilers again, and then it's Washington,
that road trip.
Washington in here on Saturday, and then back out on the road. And just as far as what this win means, Calgary went into Winnipeg and beat the Jets. So we know how that went for the Canucks earlier in the week. So that's a good win for the Calgary Flames. Dustin Wolf was spectacular. Calgary up to 51 points. They remain the second wildcard team above the playoff bar. The Canucks get their 2 points, so they stay a single point back. St. Louis and Utah were in action tonight, and that was interesting because those are the two teams behind the Canucks, and somebody was winning in today's NHL, and it turns out that it was Utah. They beat the Blues by a score of 4-2, so Canucks have 50 points, St. Louis has 48, Utah with 45. A rare home ice win for both the Canucks and Utah. They've got the two lowest win totals on home ice all season. Canucks now with 8 and Utah with 7. So the new hockey fans in Salt Lake, they may enjoy the fact they've got an NHL team. They just haven't seen many victories at the Delta Center, but that's something to keep in mind. If either one of these Canucks or Utah teams can figure it out and get moving and put some wins together on home ice, that's going to go a long way to helping them become a playoff team. Seattle was a winner as well, beat Los Angeles by a score of 4-2. One thing that we didn't talk about a little earlier, we've talked about special teams and the way it all broke down. The Oilers scored their second goal on a power play with Kiefer Sherwood off for a high stick on Evan Bouchard.
Over-exuberance is what I wrote down.
Well, think about the guy's the runaway hit leader, setting records, all that kind of stuff. And he's managed to do it without taking many penalties. This is just his 10th minor penalty. And so he's not generally careless with the stick. That's a penalty that we just haven't seen from Kiefer Sherwood all season.
No, it was, like I said, I wrote it down. It had been a lively game to that point.
Yep.
And it just, he's had all these hits. He's been so smart. He's been so smart in how he's chased after those hits. It surprised me a little bit just to see him. Oh, I've missed it, and then just clatter it, and then just have that swing around.
Exactly. That's what it was.
It was just careless. Yeah,
and that is something that he's to be commended. I don't think he has chased a ton of hits. He's racked them up. What did he finish with in tonight's game? Kiefer Sherwood. Only 3 hits. Oh, an off night for Kiefer Sherwood. Only 3 hits in this hockey game, if the final stat sheet's to be believed. Maybe it comes with an asterisk as well. But the fact that he's taken 10 minor penalties for a guy that's been that aggressive, that I'm surprised that there haven't been a few nights where other teams have just said, enough with this. We're going to take you off the ice for 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. The way that he hits, I would have thought would have led to a little more retribution at this point of the season, but he's able to do his thing and for the most part has played it clean and between the whistles and all that kind of stuff. So good on him, aside from, a little careless with the stick in this instance, and it did come back to haunt the Vancouver Canucks. But again, they win the special teams battle. They win the hockey game by a score of 3-2. Just wanted to get to this comment as well. Jeremy Jones says, no negative comments on the defense tonight. Life is good. And, again, you hold the Oilers to 2 goals, 15 shots. Soucy and Myers, after the first period, the shots were 5-1 in the Canucks' favor, and Myers had an assist on the Danton Heinen goal. As I look at the final numbers, and you were quick to point this out just before we got to showtime, but the Corsi champ for the Vancouver Canucks tonight was Vincent Desharnais.
What a hero.
Former team, fired up to go against the Oilers, I'm sure. But in a third pairing capacity, it's a busy night just in terms of Corsi, but shot attempts were 15-4 in the Canucks' favor with Big Vinny on the ice and his partner Derek Forbort. Number wasn't quite as crooked there, but still. Desharnais got a couple of shifts with Quinn Hughes. I think that was part of how the number. Anytime you're riding shotgun with Quinn, your numbers are going to reflect that. Yeah, I mean, look, since Christmas, really much of the season, really, most of these shows, yeah, we have singled out some defensive miscues that have led to goals, that have led to losses for the Vancouver Canucks, but really hard to find fault with anybody in the lineup tonight, but particularly the depth defenders behind Quinn Hughes and Phil Hronik.
Well, and we've talked a lot about the lack of ability to move the puck up the ice, and I thought honestly for the most part they did it, especially playing a fast team like Edmonton. They did a pretty good job moving the puck up the ice. We saw Phil Hronik jump up in the rush a couple times. Tyler Myers had one of his. He's had, I think, on the whole, a pretty good season, especially when they asked him to do more than he should be doing when he was playing with Quinn Hughes. But there were some some really good moments from all their defensemen, and Desharnais doing what he needs to do, and Forbort doing what he needs to do. They don't play terribly exciting, skillful hockey, but Derek Forbort's, of course, he's been pretty good this year. Like it's a weird. He's not fun to watch play, but he gets it done, and it's.
Well, and also, I think one area that he was brought in to kill penalties, right? Without a doubt. Yeah. They lose Zadorov, and they lost Ian Cole, and those two guys did penalty killing and some of the heavy lifting. This is what Derek Forbort has done. He's plotting big body that eats pucks, and he was brought in to kill penalties. Obviously, barely played in the first half of the season, but if you go back to sort of the middle of December, a month now, Canucks penalty kill has been amongst the best in the National Hockey League, and he's been a huge part of that. Last Saturday in Toronto, he killed 4 of the 6 minutes that the Canucks were shorthanded, and the Leafs had 2 power play shots on goal. Oilers scored on their only power play shot. So the second power play was cut short, but they had more than 2 minutes. They finished with 2.5 minutes, almost 3 minutes of power play time. They had 1 shot on goal. And Derek Forbort's been a big part of that. And so I think you see his veteran presence, a little savvy there, knows positioning. And on top of it all, Pat, he had the best scoring chance of the first Oiler power play. Remember when he broke out down the left side?
Yeah.
I think it was a 3-on-1 and Forbort. And I thought, hit the net, because if you don't, that's when McDavid picks the puck up and with steam. And Forbort didn't hit the net. He missed the net.
He didn't hit the net, but the puck kind of died in the corner, thankfully.
Yes, so that was good news for everybody in a Vancouver Canuck uniform. All right, we're going to hear from JT Miller here. We read some of the quotes earlier, but let's hear from the man himself. So much noise around JT Miller really all season, but a little different noise now. Trade talk heating up, and he says he is oblivious to all of it, and yet I think some of it, most of it, gets funneled right back to him. I think he knows what's going on. Here is JT Miller after the Canucks 3-2 victory over the Edmonton Oilers.
It was one of our better team efforts this year for sure, so we should feel proud about it.
You started at the end there? What happened in the last few seconds?
I'm not 100% sure. I just saw him and Garley and McDavid wrestling there, so I'm not. I really don't know.
On a personal level, how much did you enjoy that game with that assignment?
It's always fun playing against him. Keeps my focus.
What did you like most about the team performance overall tonight? What did you guys do better than what you've done the last couple of games?
I just thought it in an entirety of the group, like the commitment. Came up with some new looks on the power play, and we stuck to it, and power play got us momentum. It's a big difference in a game like that. Just buy in. When we buy in, we normally have success.
What did you like after making some changes to the power play? What was working for you guys so well tonight?
Well, it's just, Yogi comes up with a game plan typically, and today was more of a numbers to the net type of deal. We know that they have a very aggressive penalty kill, and try to make it a little simpler. Just pucks and bodies there, and we created a little havoc and got rewarded.
JT, there was a report out there that you might have been held out for this game. Possible trade. Were you aware of that? And if so, how difficult is it to play a game under those circumstances?
I don't know if there's anything. I don't know. It's just try to focus on the game. It's probably good you're playing, the Oilers tonight and have a matchup assignment. Try to keep me focused. So.
Is it different this time around than it has been? You're not new to facing these questions from us about staying focused, but is it different, or has it been different over the last month, and especially over the last 24 hours for you?
Yeah, I guess. I don't really know what to say, to be honest. I don't have a good answer for you. I'm just trying to focus on game to game still. It's boring, but it's true.
I did notice, though, you took the 3 stars. Is there any sense of sort of knowing that the uncertainty's there, just sort of savoring what's been pretty great run for you in this league?
That's a nice try. Got to be a little more clever.
I'm going to try to.
Okay.
If this was your last game in Vancouver, what does it mean to you to play here?
I'm not getting into this. I'm planning on being a Canuck today, tomorrow. Whatever happens. I'm focused on the next game.
In regards to the game, they're a team that gets a lot of shots. How do you feel about really limiting that?
Yeah, we protected the guts. I thought our neutral zone was really good against them for the most part. I just think we were really connected. We've played them so many times. I think it's, we've played some of our best games, I think, against them, and we know what to expect. So I think guys get a little more amped up. It's Saturday, Tocchet in Canada, stuff like that. It's a fun game to play in, and I thought we just bought in as a team, like I said.
All right, there you go. JT Miller clubs our buddy Thomas Drance over the head.
Nice try.
And then Gemma comes in the way
Try
she
again.
does. She's got the subtle approach.
How about this?
But look, we read the quote. You heard it there.
Yeah.
Wants to be a Canuck. And I thought it was interesting where he said it probably helped that it was the Oilers that allowed him to focus on the task at hand. I don't know what that would say if it was the Sabres or somebody else, but yes, I mean, when you see that it's the Oilers and you're getting the McDavid assignment, you better be focused, and he certainly looked like he was.
Yeah, and I appreciated Thomas's effort, especially with that first question, which I think was well put. You can see. I guess everyone on YouTube's seeing it here, but for those of you listening later, go back and look at the JC's face because it says a lot. Because he's been dealing with Thomas a lot over the years, so he knows what he's trying to do. JT's always a big fan. Just ask me hockey questions, but he knew that there was no avoiding that one, and he went, I guess, and I don't know what to say. It was a guy that I thought on the whole handled it well, didn't get frustrated. We've seen him getting frustrated lately, walking off with that kind of stuff, but admitting that, essentially acknowledging, yes, it is different. I know that it's different. And a guy that, if this goes out, he's going on a high note. Like, this is the highest of high notes. This was a guy that, to be honest, I thought I gave him props at the end of last season. Like, he was a guy that he's not all, he got a lot of media attention for generally good reasons, and he always stood up and faced the music. And he's been a bit more, difficult to deal with lately, but this is him going out on a high note and speaking well and representing who he is and who he's been very, 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 very well.
Well, we're going to see the Canucks and the Oilers again on Thursday. Before then, it's the Buffalo Sabres. A quick thought or two on the Sabres in a moment, but let's get to our Bet365 line of the night. Not nearly as much action around the National Hockey League on Sunday. It was a busy night, just about every team in action, and that means that some teams are going to be playing back-to-back, including the New York Rangers and the Montreal Canadiens. Now, the Rangers were 1-0 winners in a shootout against Columbus. So they beat Columbus. That's a good win these days. The Blue Jackets have been red hot. The Rangers, obviously, we know the story there. Vincent Trocheck got the game-deciding goal in a shootout. The Rangers in Montreal, where the Habs got throttled by the Toronto Maple Leafs on Saturday.
I saw that.
7-3, the rookie, Lane Hudson on the ice for 5 of the 7 Toronto goals. Dash 5 on the night, and that's going to happen. He's having an incredible season, and he's a terrific player. But, tough night for him, tough night for the Montreal Canadiens. They lose 7-3, but the Habs have been rolling. And I just think that they'll take their lumps here and bounce back. I'm looking at them on the money line. You can get them at -105. So we'll see what happens there. One of 4 games around the National Hockey League. That is our line of the night. It's brought to you by Bet365, proud partner of Rink Wide Vancouver. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. All right. So the Canucks have Sunday off. They've got the big charity event on Sunday night. I would imagine then that they'd be back at practice on Monday. I thought they might skate on Sunday and then give them Monday after being out late on the company watch doing the charity event. But they've got Sunday as a full team day off, so I would think back to practice on Monday and then play Buffalo on Tuesday.
It also gives them the window just to deal with
JT. Fair enough.
And not have to think about it.
Fair enough. There was talk around the rink that we're going to hear from Patrick Alvin in person here soon, I think
Yeah.
was the word that was used, and I wonder if it's all tied into.
I assume it is. Yeah.
Any and all
we
of
basically
this,
put it's the halfway mark.
I'm not expecting that to happen Sunday, but
No.
maybe Monday,
I
and
imagine
certainly
Monday,
if there is a trade, then yes, we
Yeah.
would hear from the general manager. Sabres, a couple of things about the Sabres. Canucks catching a bit of a break here. Buffalo starting a West Coast road trip in Seattle on Monday, so the Vancouver Canucks will catch the Sabres on the back end of back-to-backs, a long way from home. And they have leaned so heavily on Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen that I wonder if the Canucks get James Reimer, who rarely plays, but it is back
As I said to you, still kicking. I can't believe it.
No, it is. It's pretty remarkable. Sabres had a goalie score on them last night, Alex Nedeljkovic. They lost to Pittsburgh. But they're playing a little bit better. Like, it wasn't that long ago that they were just in complete disarray, right? They lost 13 in a row. They're 6-4-1 since then, so they've sort of stabilized at the very least. Tage Thompson leads the team, 19 goals and 36 points. Jason Zucker's got 15 goals, so he's having a nice season. Alex Tuch, JJ Peterka, Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power, like those are the names, obviously. But through it all, it's going to be another year without playoff hockey in Buffalo, which is just incredible given the fact that they've had a top 10 pick for 10 straight years. They're 29th in the NHL and last in the East.
Yeah, it's not happening.
No, they are the fifth worst team defensively. We said they've got some guys that can score, so you don't want to get loose and just kind of trade chances with them. Canucks beat them in overtime in late November, had the lead, let it get away, and then Connor Garland, the breakdancing move in the crease there between his legs, spinning around.
That's right.
One of 2 goals. He scored a backdoor tap-in from Brock Besser on the power play as well. So they have defeated the Sabres already once this year, and we'll see what happens on Tuesday night. And the Canucks can't look past the Sabres to the rematch against the Edmonton Oilers. They've got to string wins together, and they now have a chance, Patrick Johnson, to win consecutive games on home ice for the first time all year against the Sabres on Tuesday.
Can you say that again? For the first time all season?
For the people in the back of the room.
Unbelievable.
First time all year.
This team.
It didn't happen in the playoffs either. That's the crazy part. You have to go back to late last regular season to find the last time the Canucks have strong.
I mean, I feel like you can excuse the playoffs because the playoffs are tight, and they had a couple tough opponents. But I mean, I've written this already, before, but I'll say it again. To think where this team is at right now. I mean, I don't think anybody necessarily thought they were going to be exactly the team they were at the end of last season, or the team that that because obviously they lost the door off. There was turnover, right?
Yep.
But the team felt like it was close to something, right? You're like, they make a couple moves here, a couple moves there. This team's going to be moving forward, and that just has not happened in any way. And when you put it that way, that they haven't won consecutive games on home ice all season, right there is that's again yet another way to put everything you need to know about this team. They're just completely inconsistent all season long.
Well, and another way to look at it is, I think of the teams that are above the playoff bar right now, Minnesota has the fewest home ice wins with 11.
Right.
But they've won 16 on the road. The Canucks now have 8. So, that gives you a sense. Also, I looked last year, I think 21 home ice wins was the low of the 16 teams that made the playoffs. 21 was the lowest total.
Right.
So Canucks have some ground to cover. They've got the second half here, but again, they've dug themselves a hole. They're below the playoff bar. They'll spend another night below the playoff bar, and we'll see how long the Flames can hang in there.
The bottom line, we knew the whole time they're going to have to pick up the pace, right? And
For sure.
And even coming, they've obviously slumped this month, the opposite of what they needed to do. The remarkable thing, and Brock Besser said this to me on Friday when I talked to him about, he revealing these, he can't sleep given how things have been going. And part of that is because the guy wants to be here. He's loved playing here. He doesn't know what's going to happen. We talk so much about JT Miller, but in the end, Brock Besser, there's a lot of questions about his future. We haven't talked a lot about it, but that's a guy that wants this team to do so much better. And he goes, as badly we played, we're still, in the playoff race. Like it's not like it's all bad. It's not like they're the Buffalo Sabres who are 11 points out of fourth place.
No, but they shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be.
I will say
they go on a run and they'll get in.
Check it out. Great chat with Brock. I saw you sitting there in his stall having a good word with him.
Delighted, Jeff.
And I was happy to find out the dogs are doing well and that Now I know
He
where
was delighted. I mean,
I know where he goes to walk them.
yeah, well, Pacific Spirit Part. My buddy had seen him, and I mentioned that. He goes, his eyes just lit up. He was, first of all, really, very happy to see me. I was kind of taken aback.
Everybody's happy to see you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Let's hear from Rick Tocchet. We have a couple of minutes to the head coach at the podium. So
Should we just give quick context? Because apparently he's feeling under the weather, so he didn't answer a ton of questions tonight. But
okay.
There are
been a number of reasons here why they've been cut short. Sometimes he has no answers. Sometimes he's angry. He better not have been angry. His team turned in a pretty solid performance here. Here's Tocchet after a 3-2 win over the Oilers.
Let's begin with the first period and what you liked about the way your team started this game after some first periods that have gone against you of late.
Yeah, I think the energy was really good. I thought everybody contributed really early on. We got to our game early, which we talked about all day, is make sure we get to our game. Thought we managed the puck. Obviously, we had the last couple of games we haven't managed the puck very well, but I thought we managed it really well and jumped. Got the lead. I thought that really helped a lot of guys. So yeah, I mean a little bit of everything for me.
What about the very end of the game, especially the scrum there between Garland and McDavid? What did you see out of that?
Yeah, I haven't looked at the video. Obviously there's a couple of match penalties, so we'll have to take a look at that. It's out of our control. It's the league stuff.
After a tough road trip, a couple of pretty tough losses where you talked a lot about egregious mistakes, blunders, things like that. What does this win mean to the group? Did you like how they responded to maybe some of the tough moments that they had in the previous games?
I just thought, we talked about certain things of our game, the consistency of it, how to handle pressure. We needed some more chunk of guys to really dig in for us. I thought they did tonight. We need some good stuff to happen around here. It's been, we got to get a little bit of momentum, some bad luck, some self-inflicted stuff that we've done. But I think, this is a game where, but I'm an even kill guy. This is a good win, but we got to get back. This is a good win. That's the way you got to look at it. So, the highs and lows, you just got to be careful. So I think we got the day off tomorrow. We'll have a good practice Monday and be ready for Tuesday. That's got to be our attitude right now.
Thanks. One more.
Rick, a lot of reporting over the last 6 hours about JT Miller and his future and whether or not he was informed that he might not play tonight if a deal had gone through. You get this sort of 18 for 23 face-off wins, 2 assists, sort of dog performance from him. What's that say about him, what he's meant to this group, and just your general thoughts on all the noise? Yeah,
I mean, there's been a lot of noise, but, I've been here 2.5 years. He's played a lot of good hockey for me, and he was outstanding tonight. So, we're just going to march along, but I thought he was terrific tonight. That line, really, I mean, that's a tough line. I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl, I mean, to be able to, that we didn't really shut them down, but they did a hell of a job. So I got to give JT a lot of credit. And one of those faceoffs in the power play were big, too. Those are big ones for us. That got us the 2 goals.
All right, just a second here. I got to pick a bone with Rick Tocchet. He questioned himself and said, what, I've been here 2.5 years?
It's not even 2.
It was 2 years ago, almost to the day, on a Saturday night in mid-January, that Bruce Boudreau stood there and tapped his heart and was a dead man walking. Of all the nights to know, it's been 2 years, Rick.
Well, the other thing that I always think about that night was that, Bruce comes out and talks to us. We all know the shot. And he goes, it's Rick Tocchet, by the way. In case you guys haven't heard.
I've been here 2.5. No, you haven't been here 2.5.
We'll have to let him know, Rick.
But he answered the question about Sunday off, Monday practice. And also, we can't get through a Rink Wide. He called the timeout again.
Yeah.
With the Canucks on the power play and really a chance to end this thing.
Yeah.
That final power play, you would like to have seen a little more determination there. But he called the timeout to rest his best players and give them the full run. Yeah. That's a good use of a timeout. Not enough of that. More of that, please. The rest of the way.
I know he's always looking stuff. I've probably looked up. When should I be using my time? When's the optimal time?
Well, he listened to me about Pia Suter. I may have to have a chat with him. Maybe he's been listening to Rink Wide. Who knows? But it's 2 years, Rick. Coming up a couple of days, in fact, will be the 2-year anniversary of Rick Tocchet replacing Bruce Boudreau. A good win, it was. And he said, look, we needed something good to happen here. This was good. And now we'll see if they can build on it with the Sabres coming in on Tuesday night. Quinn Hughes, 2 goals, up to a dozen on the season, en route to his first 20-goal campaign in the National Hockey League, Danton Heinen with his first goal since the overtime loss in Utah before Christmas. So it's been a while since Danton's put a puck in the net. Draisaitl with both for the Oilers, 32 and 33. And, of course, the offshoot of this game is what does the Department of Player Safety have to say to Connor McDavid and Tyler Myers, both handed match penalties in the dying seconds of this one. So things heating up for the rematch on Thursday. We're looking forward to that one, but before then, it is the Sabres on Tuesday. What have we got coming up in the province?
Oh, I mean, obviously this game, I'm going to probably end up musing. We also have the Canucks coffee or morning post. I'll be musing, I'm sure, about JT Miller's future, what maybe he's meant and hasn't meant for this team. And then back right. I mean, I'm off for a couple days. Got Coos. Coos will be over. I imagine the trade talk. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, lots happening. And I mean, it's to quote our old pal Ed Willis, it's never boring here.
That is true. Name of his book and the story of the season for sure. So yeah, the JT Miller Watch continues. Vancouver Canucks and Buffalo on Tuesday. That'll be our next episode of Rink Wide Vancouver. This was a fun one. Turned out to be a fun night of hockey as well. Canucks win. How about that? We had Jacob and Atsu working hard behind the scenes. We appreciate their help, and it's always good to get you in here.
Always
be back with me on Tuesday. That is going to do it for this episode of Rink Wide Vancouver.